So just basically, I would like you to take us on this tour on the oceans and tell us a bit about what the Maritime Silk Road of the 21st century is. In 2013, President Xi Jinping of China first announced in September of that year in Kazakhstan the establishment or the launching of the economic belt of the Silk Road, which is a land-based. But then in October 2013, he visited Indonesia, and where he there then spoke about this maritime new Silk Road. So that was 2013, but you are saying in 2015, these illustrations have come. Please go ahead.
It was only in 2015 that we really began to get some information about what everything was involved. And here you see these two unofficial maps that coincided with this sudden opening of information and news. In the left-hand side, that was the first one that seems to trace the overland Silk Road of old, of the 14th century or so. And there underneath you have a ship or blue line that visits first a number of Chinese ports, goes through Indonesia, up to the north of the Indian continent, swings across Africa and swings through into Europe. A little later, you've got the map on the right, and you see a dramatic change on the overland route, because in between, President Xi Jinping had been to Moscow and visited President Putin and realized that they left Moscow out. So they have this very elegant sweep to pick up Moscow. And the twirly lines of the Silk Road, the Maritime Silk Road, they become a little more complex. And we're talking now about this Maritime Silk Road. What do these lines on that map seem to represent? And the thing is, they seem to persist through the iconography of the Silk Road. So I'm going to show you several other maps that I've just taken off the internet, but they're fairly typical of what you can see.
All these, as you said, these are unofficial. The Chinese government have not released any of its own maps saying this is what we mean.
Yes, it means that the Chinese government has actually divorced itself from these maps. It has nothing to do with us. Yeah. So this is what's appeared now by the West. And if you look at the first one, so I've taken these as random, you can see that the overland routes now correspond more closely with the actual overland routes. But still, if you look at the Silk Road, the Maritime Silk Road, you still have this line connecting different ports on more or less a squiggly route. On the right-hand side, you see the same thing again. A new attempt to draw the overland routes that represent now more growth corridors, but still this rather odd line of visits. Down beneath, the same thing, an overland route that coincides with a reality, and this rather strange set of lines where you visit Kolkata, Colombo, Gwadra, Djibouti on your way to Europe. And even on the right, which is one of my favorite ones of the overland route, which corresponds with the actual development corridors, you can still see this same pattern, almost as though it's imprinted on the sea, that this is what the Maritime Silk Road is. And it is absolutely ridiculous. Firstly, because there is no single Chinese ship or any other ship which would visit that sequence of ports in that order. And secondly, because there is no real connection between the one port and the other and what the reality is of the Maritime Silk Road. This is the Maritime Silk Road. This I took this morning off the internet from marinetraffic.com, which is one of my favorite sites for playing around.
Right. And this is real-time shipping.
This is real-time shipping, and the red are tankers, mostly oil tankers, but liquefied natural gas, chemical tankers, and the green are cargo vessels. And you can see from the China, this huge concentration of vessels along the coast of China, which is also visiting, of course, Japan and Korea. And then on the other side in Europe, again, a huge cluster of cargo vessels and tankers there, also representing intra-European trade, intra-East Asian trade. Then you have a cluster of intra-trade around Thailand and the ASEAN countries. But basically, you have the huge sweep across the southern coast of the Eurasian continent up through the Suez Canal and into Europe. Now, joining this Silk Road, joining this network of sea lanes, you have a stream of traffic coming from, say, Brazil, for example, which is bringing iron ore through to China, and also upwards from Australia, also joining it with coal and minerals. That central piece of shipping is what I call the Maritime Silk Road. It doesn't belong to anyone. It's a stretch of sea routes, and it is very important in world trade because about 80 or 90% of world trade goes on the sea. Depends how you measure it, value or volume, whether you include intra-trade in Europe or exclude it. So that's why I say between 80 and 90%. And of that, the intra-Asia-Eurasian trade route counts for about 40% of it. 20% is on the North Atlantic route, 20% on the Pacific route, and the rest is various combinations of South-South trade.
Yeah.
So this is the Maritime Silk Road, this central core in international exchange.
Wonderful. Yeah.